Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us for Facebook with the Facilitators presented by Journey to Wholeness. Journey to Wholeness is a program that was designed to help you feel equipped to face life's challenges. And tonight we're talking about moving forward. So if you know anyone who has told you lately that they're just ready to move forward, you want to make sure to click that share button to invite your friends and family to join us. You can also take them in the comments below. So let us know that you're tuning in. We'd love to see you in the comments. We have our facilitators standing by there. They want to say hello to you. So please comment now. We'd love to hear from you. Again, this is Facebook with Facilitators going live again. Tonight we're talking about moving forward. So you want to share this with your friends, your family. Make sure that they're logging on and they join us for this conversation. All right, so tonight we're going to hear from your Journey to Wholeness facilitators, and in a second they're going to pop up on the screen here with me. And today we have with us Amy, Trish, and Tiffany. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
So,
hello.
Hello. So all of these ladies help participants to work on skills and tools to help you be equipped to face life's challenges and to answer questions like, how do we start moving forward when we don't know when that will be, or maybe you're not sure how to start or which direction to take now because your world has changed, or you're having trouble getting motivated because weeks at home have robbed you of your motivation. But Ecclesiastes 4 tells us, just like we learn in Journey to Wholeness, that there's a time for everything, a time to cry and mourn. And I'm sure many of you have had days where you've cried and you've grieved the things that have changed and maybe you've lost or have seen change in your world. I hope you've had time to laugh and dance with the people who are in quarantine with you and safe at home, or you're just ready to start laughing and dancing again. There's a time to tear down, so when we have to work on the things that are impacting us, but also a time to build up, a time to hold on, and also a time to let go. And sometimes that's hard to know which one you're in and what needs to stay and what needs to go. And then a time to heal, and another to do the work of mending. And sometimes it's work to do some of the mending that we need. So whether you're having trouble getting motivated or you're anxious to get started, we're going to talk about steps that you can take now to start moving forward. So tonight we want you to think of moving forward like getting ready for a trip. So first thing you do when you're going to go on a trip is what, ladies? What do you figure out first?
Where you're going.
Where are you going? Exactly. Yep. Determine your destination. It's time to start hoping and dreaming and planning again. I think we're all ready for that. We're tired of sitting still. It may not be time to leave for the trip, but there's things you can do now to prepare for it. So even when there's uncertainty, there's work that we can do and things that we can start moving forward in. So we're going to talk about 3 things that you can do now to start moving forward. So the first thing we want to talk about, Amy, what's the first thing we should do when we want to get ready to move forward?
Well, we need to figure out where we are.
Exactly.
You have to start where you are to know where you're going. Mm-hmm. And that includes just taking inventory of what you've got, where you're at, you know, what's around you, how you've been handling things in your life and taking care of yourself. You know, in order to get somewhere, we need a map to go there. And if you have the wrong map, you can't get there. It's not going to work out. It's going to be frustrating. So, you know, the first thing would definitely be to figure out where you are, is to just look at, again, how, if you're reacting to things or responding to things, where your heart's at, where your head's at. And then to make that map, you know, work, I think it goes, you know, for me is like my filter. What am I going to use? What am I putting in what's most important? What am I filtering these things through? And it's like Philippians 4:8, whatever's true, whatever's noble, whatever's pure, whatever's lovely and admirable, if it is excellent and praiseworthy, then focus on that. And right. I think sometimes trying to move forward, we get stuck because we're focused on the wrong things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, many times the best way to move forward is actually by going back. And like 10 people probably wanted to log off right now. But sometimes we have to go back and read the signs that we maybe passed by and didn't quite catch so that we can be sure to be on the right path. So I think when you say like figure out where you are, for me, that's just like taking a full inventory in a way that's just the facts, right? Don't worry about emotions or feeling guilty or was that right or wrong or did it go well or didn't it? Just like take an inventory of here is what happened. Like boom. Like there's no one else looking at it in your head or on your sheet of paper in your journal. Just take a full inventory of what exactly has happened in the last few weeks. What did you discover? What went well? What didn't? Not with all the, okay. However, we want to like immediately make excuses or give explanations for maybe why those things happen. And in that first step, you're just really taking. It's just like when you're packing, you're laying out. Okay, I have soap, but I don't have toothpaste. There's no judgment in that. I just have to take an accounting of what's here and what's not here.
Right. And some things for, different seasons. If you're going to a beach vacation, things serve a purpose there versus if you're going skiing. For sure. You have to pick through those things and see maybe this thing that I've just discovered serves me for the season or it doesn't.
Yeah. And sometimes we see things that we didn't realize we had, and they will be helpful in the season to come.
Yeah.
So often I'll find something that I purchased that I'm like, hey, that's going to be great on this trip. I didn't even realize I had that. And other things that I absolutely do not have and are essential and necessary. So just taking an inventory of things inside of you or things going on around you that maybe you need to pay attention to. So what about you girls? Just Tiffany, what do you do when you're taking an inventory of what's going on inside of you?
Well, I certainly journal. I ask myself questions.
Yeah, go ahead, Tiff.
Oh, sorry. I journal. I ask myself questions. I prompt myself to, even when I don't want to journal, I just take that time for myself and sort through the feelings, sort through the thoughts. There's a lot of things that can go through my mind, and I'm sure many of you ladies can relate as well. So just taking inventory that way by writing it down.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just seeing it in black and white can give us so much clarity. How about you, Trish?
I think one of my favorite things to do is just to get out, maybe take a walk by myself, have a little music on in the background, and just let my mind start sorting through what's been going on, how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. And then the benefit of it is I get that exercise, because I think sometimes when we start going through these things, we can get anxious, and that exercise helps to work out those hyper anxious feelings that we're having. So that's my favorite way to sort things out.
Yeah, that's a good point. When we look at taking an inventory, we definitely want to look at physically, emotionally, and mentally the things that have occurred. So maybe we haven't been eating as well these past few weeks, and that's affecting us. We want to take an inventory of that. Okay, if we want to move forward and feel better, we need to start making corrections there. Or maybe we're eating and exercising the best ever because that's just how you process things. That's great. That's what you want to keep and take forward into the future with you. And then emotionally, right? You want to do an inventory of that as well. So how have you been doing in that regards? Have you been reacting or responding? Have you been short-tempered? Have you been unmotivated? Are there things that are different today than they were 6 to 8 weeks ago? And again, just take an inventory of that. What does that look like? Why did that happen? And actually just list that down. Oh, yep, that started when I discovered this, or when I had this loss, or when I had this experience, this changed in my life. So let me write that down so that I know. And then now we can move on to the next step, which is, what should I do next, right? So Trish, talk about that. What would we do next once we have a full inventory of what's been going on these past few weeks?
Well, that's where we would get in. We talked about packing our bags to go on our trip, or as we like to say in Journey to Wholeness, go through the treasure and the trash. What was good that happened during this time, and what was not so good. And what do I want to take with me as I move forward? I think people had a lot of time to spend family time together. Did you rebuild relationships with your spouse? Did you get to have lots of time with your friend, your kids? Did you make time for friends, giving them phone calls, where sometimes we get so busy in our life that we just kind of forget to contact people. And so here we found ourselves a lot of time. So we made those efforts to be with people. Maybe you discovered you had these great organization skills that you never thought you had. That would be something good to take with you. Budgeting. All of a sudden you found your finances not quite what you would hope they would be, and you had to learn to live on a tighter budget, and you learned some budgeting skills. So you want to be able to take those forward with you as you're moving.
Absolutely.
And maybe even set some boundaries with people that you had to set that you also would want to take forward.
Yeah, I love that. So what needs to stay? You got to sort out the treasure and trash. Is exactly what we say in Journey to Wholeness. What needs to stay? What qualities, strengths did you discover? What needs to go? Are there habits and behaviors, thoughts, speech that you thought maybe was gone or you had worked through that resurfaced during this time? And then I think the greatest thing, and I know Trish, you've been doing a lot of this lately, what needs to be repaired or repurposed? So talk about that.
What was broken. I'm currently I am in house remodel mode. So I just had this, I had these old, the air ventil, that the air goes through in the house. And I actually had bought a new one. I just bought one, and it was a 1/4 inch too big to fit in the spot. So I thought, well, why not I just take what I've got, buy a $5 can of spray paint and spray paint them, clean them up really good and spray paint them a new color. Because I'm looking forward to some of these big things that I want to happen in this house remodel, but I think I need to do the little things before I get to the big things. So it's just repurposing something old and making it new. We want to get to the big thing right away. And we need to kind of make sure that we hold back and realize it's just going to be little steps to get to that big thing. But once we do get to it, we will be rewarded, and we will be so excited, whatever that big thing would be for each individual.
Yeah, and I think when we're sorting through treasures and trash in our life, we can be sometimes quick to look at something that's broken or that has been set aside for a long time and say, you know what, that has no use anymore. And yet this is the perfect opportunity to look at those things in our life that maybe we've set them aside too hastily, that maybe there's some plans that you had, or a dream that you had, or a hope that you had that you set aside because you thought, well, it's not going to happen, or it got broken, or it failed before. And this is a good opportunity in this time to look at those things and determine whether or not those failures are really not failures, but they were learning experiences that we can now incorporate into our going forward. And so I know I can be quick to look at something and go, oh, that's ruined. And I think a lot of us can say that, oh, that's done. And we go to this extreme because we think that we have to set them aside to actually move forward. And that's not always the case. There's some things, God is the great repurposer and repairer. And so he doesn't set us aside because we've had things go wrong, or obstacles or challenges that we didn't do well at. There's things in your life that you may not have done well at in the past, but now you have to look at who you are today and what you've gained during that time, and determine whether or not you are now better led, better I guess, experience to actually take that now and do something with it that maybe you weren't before. So when we talk about sorting it out and working through all of our inventory, it makes me think of Lamentations 3:40 that says, let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. And we talk about often this redirecting of ourselves to a certain direction. Maybe we've been downcast and we've been discouraged, and we've set our sights and our position, our posture is a word we like to use a lot, toward things that have been in our disappointment. And for a time, that's okay, because we all need to go through a grieving process to work through disappointment. That's legit. That's for real. It's okay. But at some point, we have to determine that we're going to now sort through those things, because it's time to start moving forward, and we're going to reposition ourselves. We're going to reposture ourselves toward the hope and the dreams and the plans that God has said are for us, that He's for us. And so we have to do that. Another verse I had written down today was Psalm 119. It's a very long psalm, but number 59, verse 59, it says, when I took a long, careful look at my ways, at your ways, God, I got my feet back on the trail you blazed. I was up at once, didn't drag my feet, was quick to follow your orders. And I know when I reset my sights, when I start my day in the Word or with my sights on Him and what He says to me in Scripture, you get that feeling that the psalmist was talking about here. Like, I got my feet back on the trail that you blazed. Like, you already showed me the way through your Son Jesus when you became, God made flesh. And at that, I realized, like, wow, how much love, how much I have someone behind me, how much I have in my favor, how much I've accumulated, how much I've learned. And so I'm up at once. I don't drag my feet, because I'm going to be quick to follow behind the steps of the Master who has led the way for us. Mm-hmm. So, I love that sorting out.
I read a devotional from Bob Goff yesterday, and this quote just really stuck with me. He said, Jesus won't eliminate the chaos in our lives, but He will give it new meaning. Mm-hmm. And I think moving forward, that's what it's all about. All this that we've been through is to find that, just like you said, repurposing thing. There is a meaning to what we're all going through, and it's up to us to find it.
For sure. Yeah, it's easy to focus on everything that's out of our control. But what we are doing when we're looking at moving forward is, what are the things that are in our hands? Our thoughts, our speech, our behaviors, the steps we take, our posture, our attitude, those are all in our hands. But there's so much more that we can say, well, we can't control these things. But if you sat down and actually took inventory and started to sort it out, I bet you would find things in there that you had forgotten about. And this is the time to resurrect those again, and to start putting your hopes on again, because God is with you and for you and inside of you when we go to Him and we ask for His help, but also when we do this work, right? So there's the mending, and then there's the healing, and there's some work that we have to do in the mending to work through what we've actually been walking through, so that we can walk into the future well, which is what we're talking about next. So Tiffany, what else should we think about when we're moving forward?
Yeah, so when I think about moving forward, I think about the fact that it's really not about the destination. It's really about enjoying the journey. So if you think about planning that trip, we're not thinking about the end. We're not thinking about our airplane, the airplane ride back. We're thinking about the airplane ride there, starting off and enjoying the actual trip. So how is it any different with our own personal lives? So I want to talk about how we can enjoy the journey instead of always looking ahead. So being in the moment of now, what does that look like? Before I give you guys 3 tips, I want to add that God tells us in Scripture that tomorrow already worries about itself. Yeah. So we don't need to do that. And God is literally telling us to enjoy the day, to enjoy today. It's really a request of His. So let's not delay His request, because something I heard from Proverbs 31 was a delay is a disobey. And I always tell my kids that, so I have it in my own mind. So let's not disobey God. Let's not delay. Let's think about just for today.
Right.
So I want to give you guys 3 tips how you can enjoy just for today. The first one I thought of was just be. We live, in a society where we're always doing things and never being. And I think we've just forgotten how to just be. Initially, when you want to just be, you'll resist. And we talk about that in Journey to Wholeness. Your mind and body will both resist. They're going to say, no, I'm not used to this. They're going to say, hey, we need to start doing. Now is a time to be, especially now. And so when we choose to stay busy, we really tend to leave what is important behind. We're too busy in our minds. And I really think that it really starts with our mind first. The second thing, this is so good, giving thanks and bless your journey. It's simple, but yet it's not. When I thought about, what I was going to be talking about tonight, I thought about the time that I had went through cancer in my journey, which I'll forever be grateful for. And at times it was hard for me to give thanks to God. That journey taught me to live now. And, I really hope that it doesn't take that for other people to just get it. Unfortunately, it took me that, but hey, I'm grateful for it. And even if you're in a dark place, you still have something to be grateful for.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier, choosing. We have the right to choose. We have the control and the ability to choose.
Right.
And then the third thing is trusting the process. So trusting the process is about really trusting the journey. How can you trust the journey if you don't enjoy it first? It's more pleasurable when you enjoy the journey. So I wanted to break down those, how to enjoy the journey, because it sounds great, but how do we actually put that in action?
Exactly. I think for this season, I think that was what was most challenging for us. It was that we had so much control over a lot of things in our life, right? So where we would go and just things were just set. There was a schedule and a process, but we weren't able to keep control over a lot of things, which just caused that unraveling you were talking about. And ultimately, those who settled in were those who just started to live in each day, because you realize that every day was going to have a whole new set of challenges that we had no control over. And if you watch the news, you would have a whole new list of things that had happened and changes that had happened. And if you kept trying to readjust your next month or weeks or 3 months, and we're trying to plan, suddenly we couldn't do that. And it was really disruptive for many of us. That caused a lot of anxiety and anxiousness and a lot of grieving and the crying and mourning that we were talking about. And yet when you settled into each day and just said, I'm going to face each day, I'm going to be grateful for each day, and I'm just going to live and move and breathe and have my being, just like scripture says, in this day, and not worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has its own worries. We were able to settle in a little better and appreciate what we had without being too anxious about what we didn't have. And to be quite honest, many of us just didn't have and haven't had a lot of the resources, whether that be human resources, people and support, whether that be financial resources. So many different resources just shifted in our world. So I love that. We have to learn how to be, and where God invites us is to be in his presence. And then when we're in his presence, meaning when we're in scripture, when we're in prayer, when we're in worship, we get that confidence and that peace that today I can handle today. And that's all he ever asked us, was to handle today. And when we stop trying to figure out all the days to come, then we have peace. Now, does that mean we shouldn't hope and dream and make plans? Absolutely not. But don't do that at the expense of today. Don't miss out on what you have today and the blessings of today. We've absolutely experienced that with my daughter. She's a senior in high school. And so just one by one, we just started crossing things off the list that she was losing as the days went on. So we really had to focus on, like, what do we have today? Today we have more time together. Today we have dinner together pretty much daily at the table, and home cooked meals daily. We would love some takeout and we'll get some. But we could focus on what we didn't have, or we could really be present in today and the things and the opportunities we had. Now, that's not true for everyone, right? Everyone's had different schedules, different changes, different, not everyone has all the time in the world at home right now. Some people are working harder than ever because they're in healthcare, or they're in an essential service, or there's just been a change in your organization and now you took on 3 jobs because they had to furlough others. And so what can you be appreciative of in that day? You're working, right? You're not struggling for your paycheck right now. You may not have all the time that other people have, but we really have to look at it as seasons, right? This is not forever. This is right now. Right. And so right now, this is my day. And so what am I going to be glad for and rejoice in it? Because this is still the day the Lord has made. And we decide if we're going to be glad and rejoice in it.
So true.
Yeah. So whenever and you talked about trust, right? So where is our trust? And I think for a long time, it was in ourselves, and that's good. But then in other people, other things, and when those things failed us, then we have to still ask, like, ultimately, where's my final trust in, right? Is this going to derail me and discourage me and take my feet out and, make me go lay down in bed and cover my head and refuse to get up? Yes, for a little bit, but that shouldn't be where you are still, right? It may be a day or maybe a time, because yes, like, grieve the things that you have lost and they have been notable. But what are you going to do in the days to come? And who are you trusting in? And I think it's just been a really good opportunity for us to evaluate where our trust ultimately lies. It's okay to go through all the steps, but did you finally get to, well, but my trust is in God? And I know for you, Tiffany, going through cancer, and for me in my life with different health issues and losses, there comes a time when you just go, okay, I don't understand everything that's happening right now, and I can't even keep up with it, but I trust you, God.
Yes.
And it's ultimately just that surrender. And I don't know how this is going to end up. I don't know if all the things I'm hoping for and planning for right now are going to come to fruition, but I trust you, God. I trust that you always have a better plan for me, for my family, for my situation than I could have for myself. And it may not make sense to me, but I know ultimately it will make sense. So I'm going to trust you with that. So Tiffany, tell us a little bit about that trust that you had to develop.
Yeah. So I had to really think about my viewpoint on who God really is. And for me, it helped to imagine God as love and not of this condemning, God that people portray or that we've been taught maybe, so I had to really take him in partnership with me. I would envision myself just nestling my head into his arms and in a place of surrender. I think about a physical way of surrendering, and sometimes it's literally your knees are on the ground and your head is on that ground, and you're just like, I give in, I give to you. And placing my trust in myself is just not working. I get tired, and then I lose strength, and then it's just that cyclical behavior over and over again. And then trusting in others, well, they may not always know what we need either, but God always does.
Yeah.
And then trusting in things, that new car smell is going to go away eventually. It's great to have new things and all that stuff, but where is your heart when you're doing all those things? So yeah, just partnering with God and looking at God as, a partnership.
Right. Yeah. And it really levels out I think in our emotions, we can go on these roller coasters, and we sing a song in worship at Life Church about the highs and the lows, and we're going to have highs and lows, but how high you go and how low that drop is really up to you. It's where have you set your trust, and what do you go to? How do you start your day? What decisions and agreements have you made with yourself and with God about how you're going to enter each day? And even though we'll still have the highs and lows, they won't be so drastic, right? So your highs and lows, you get back to that peaceful place a lot quicker when you do the work of taking an inventory, sorting things out, and asking yourself those questions, and then enjoying the journey, and taking an inventory of that, and saying, here are the good things, and here is what I'm gonna slow down to notice, because they're worth noticing in my life, because every day is a gift and a blessing and a miracle. And so Trish, you talked about going for walks. I love my sunsets. I will chase the sunset. I will stare into the sunset until my cornea are like frying. Probably not good. But it's amazing to me that every day he creates for us a beautiful sunrise. I'm not a morning person, so I don't often see those. And then a beautiful sunset to remind us that I did this for you. I paint the sky for you because I'm right here, and you can trust in me because these things happen every single day without fail. Sunrise, sunset. And that just is a testament to who God is and what he does for us. So whenever I need to be reminded about where I'm placing my trust, I've said this before, I'll say it again. It's Isaiah 43, and it says this: I've called your name, you're mine. When you're in over your head, I'll be there with you. When you're in rough waters, you will not go down. When you're between a rock and a hard place, it won't be a dead end, because I am your God, your personal God. And that's the Message version, but I love how it's just in everyday language. He is called your name. You belong to him, meaning like he's got you, girl. He's got you. Yeah. And then because I am God, I'm your personal God, meaning like we're in this together. I'm with you. Like I'm personally invested in you. And that's a good reminder to us, because the last tip we want to give you before we log off here tonight is we need to avoid comparison. Comparison will cause you to take unnecessary detours in your journey. Let me say that again. On social media to keep connected and to keep aware, and some of us get our news off of Facebook, right? So comparison will cause you to take unnecessary detours in your journey. If you're looking to move forward and you want to get somewhere and you don't want to take extra trips or side roads or chase rabbits, don't compare yourself to anyone else and where they're at and where they're going. Remember, your story, your experience, your progress, your process is unique to you. Not everyone's going to chase a sunset until their corneas are burning, okay? Your process might be different. You may not want to walk 6 miles on an evening. That might be torture to you. That's not your process. We started in this crisis together, but we're absolutely not in the same place anymore. All of us are unique. Every one of us has experienced this in a different way, even though we started out with similar experiences. What God is doing in you is unique to you. What he wants to do in you and through you, that's different. There's millions of people on this planet, and none of them is like you, and none of them has a purpose the way God created you with a purpose. So we will not come out of this at the same time or the same pace, in the same place or the same condition, and that's okay. All right? I want to tell you that tonight, that that's okay. You need to take the time to name and put words to what has happened to you in your own heart. In your own heart. Keep your eyes on God for what he's working on in you in this time. Don't minimize or downplay the importance of what God is doing in you right now. It may seem small to you. It may seem like, wow, I should have worked through this already, but that's not true. It matters because it's pivotal for your story and your life and your journey and your progress. It's key to what he's working out in and through you. So ladies, any closing words from anyone?
Well, I had a quote. Oh, go ahead, Trish.
I was going to say, just with talking about trusting in God, I think I have learned that His timing is impeccable during this process. The way He sets things up, because He sees what's going to happen. I can really rest in that His timing is impeccable. So, and I can so trust in that.
Yep. I've often been on the verge of messing up timing often. God, He's always on time. Tiffany, you had a quote?
Yeah, there's a song by India Ree, and the song is called A Beautiful Day. And this is what she says in her lyrics. It says, "Life is a journey, not a destination. There are no mistakes, just chances we've taken. Lay down your regrets, because all we have is now."
Yeah, so good.
Yeah.
Amy, any parting words?
No, just we'll, like you said, Becky, we're all going to get through this. It's just in what place that we are, and it's not going to be the same for everyone. And I think that's, I find myself repeating, like, we'll get through this to the people around me that I love. But I have to honor for them too, that it's not going to be the same way as me. And, I know at one point I said to the group here, we're in a storm and we're in different boats. And all we can do at this point with each other is maybe just find a boat that's similar, find that person, find a bucket of people and tie up. Yeah, we need each other, and need those good people around us that love us towards Jesus and love us in where we're at, no matter where it is.
Yell out encouragements to each other. Fortunately, every boat has a Zoom hookup that we can connect with and have conversations and see each other's faces. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, all of you, for joining me and helping to just clarify some steps for everyone listening tonight on how you can start moving forward over the weeks to come. You can visit journeytowholeness.org for more resources and to check out our new whole podcast, which is available right now, where we talk about arrested development, and a second podcast coming out this week where we talk about anxiety and how to work through that. So we believe that anyone can find wholeness in Jesus. All you need is a path to get there. We're so glad you joined us tonight. Have a great, great night.
Yay. Bye.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.